Feel free to disagree, but Zaccharie Risacher is a better pick for the Atlanta Hawks than Alex Sarr. All right, so we're coming fresh off of last night's Summer League game where the Atlanta Hawks faced off against the Washington Wizards Summer League team. The Washington Wizards did end up getting the win, but Zaccharie Risacher did lead the scorers with 18 points in that game. He wasn't extremely efficient, but he showed some flashes of things that should have the fans and the front office pretty excited. But here's a couple of reasons why Zaccharie Risacher is a better pick for the Hawks than Alexander Sarr. First and foremost, I understand that Alex Sarr became a very popular pick around Atlanta and Atlanta fans for the simple fact that on the lottery night, they told you Alex Sarr was the best player. You didn't do your own research and you believed it. Plain and simple. Actually, in my opinion, and it's been my opinion throughout this whole process, Reed Sheppard is the best, most NBA-ready prospect in the whole draft by far, okay? He wouldn't have made sense for the Hawks because of his size and position. However, I'll give you a video about Reed Sheppard in the future. Right now, we're talking about Alexander Sarr. Alexander Sarr is a slim big. He has the physical tools to be, a fantastic player. It's just about whether or not he puts them all together. And when I scouted him, I just didn't necessarily see it. All right, when I say he has the physical tools, I mean he has a very buildable frame. First thing I focus on when I think about a buildable frame is I look at their shoulders. He has broad shoulders, which means that he'll probably be able to build on his frame and add muscle mass pretty easily if he puts in the work. He's athletic, he has good ball skills for a guy his height, but he's pretty soft in the paint. And as an Atlanta Hawks fan or an Atlanta Hawks front office member, anybody associated with the Hawks, the last thing you want to hear is a big man who's soft in the paint. Because if you want a big man that's soft in the paint, hello, you already have one. His name's Clint Capella. The same way that Clint Capella grabs all these offensive rebounds off of his own misses, Alexander Sarr kind of has that same tendency. He doesn't finish strong in the paint despite his size. He tends to not want to poke it and instead just lay it up, which causes him to miss too often, right? We do not want a big man that doesn't play like a big man in the paint. So think Capella, think Gobert. He can be a little soft in there. So that lack of finishing ability is a red flag. Also, the fact that he was pretty terrified of competition is a red flag as well. The reason he didn't want to come to Atlanta is because he saw an easier route for him to play and play significant minutes at the position he wants to play in Washington. In Atlanta, it's kind of crowded at that big man spot. You have Clint Capella, you have Onyeka Okongwu, you have Jalen Johnson, who's playing the majority of his minutes at the 4. So you have to kind of fit in at that 5 spot where maybe he wants to be a 4, maybe he wants to be a 4-5, but either way, there's more minutes and more opportunity in Washington. So running away from competition is a big problem for me. Alex Sarr ran away from competition when he had the opportunity to play in one of the top EuroLeague teams. He decided to go to Atlanta and play in Overtime Elite. He left Overtime Elite when that got too difficult and went to Australia. So he has a history of running from competition. You do not want a competitor who's scared to compete. And when it comes to his history of running away from competition, don't take my word for it. You can do your own research on it. It's out there. All right. Now let's talk about Zaccharie Risacher. Zaccharie Risacher, what I have here is that when I scouted him, I said he has solid measurables. He's the archetype that many NBA teams love at this point. He has a nice shot, but a tendency to be a little streaky, and he needs to add consistency to be a reliable weapon. So if he can get that three-point shot, 38, 39, 40, 41 and up, then he could be a very solid plug-and-play guy right away. If the shot is falling, he's a catch-and-shoot assassin, but he can't really create his own shot. At least he didn't show that on his tape. I would say even in the Summer League game last night, he showed a little bit more ability to create a shot than I have seen from him in the past, but it's definitely something he's going to have to work on because on tape, he really relies on being like a Klay Thompson type of player. I hate comparisons. I'm not saying he's Klay Thompson at all, but what I'm saying is that type of player that really doesn't really put the ball on the ground other than on a fast break. So shot creating ability is not really his strong suit based off of what I scouted. However, on a team like Atlanta, you don't really have to be a shot creator because you have Trae Young, who is going to be the predominant ball handler and will get you open as long as you knock down your shots. You don't have to be a shot creator in Atlanta, especially if Jalen Johnson improves in that category. If Jalen Johnson starts to be able to create his own shot, you already have Bogdanovic. You really won't have a lot of opportunities to have the rock like that anyway. So let's go back into my report a little bit. He's moderately athletic, but he doesn't, he doesn't jump off the tape. Like, he leaves a lot to be desired in the athletic category, but he's athletic enough. It gets the job done. He doesn't wow you in that aspect, but he is a gamer, okay? And when you talk about being a competitor, opposite of Sarr, he actually has shown on his tape that he is a competitor. When the lights were the brightest in his playoff games and his playoff series, Risacher played his best ball. So that's really what rose his stock, is the way he played when he was in the most intense situations. All right, he needs to be a little bit stronger for his defensive intangibles to carry over, but if he can gain some weight, which he already has said that's his main goal, is to put on some weight, he'll be a fantastic option right there beside Jalen Johnson if they decide to keep DeAndre Hunter. You'll have a lot of these wings that can defend multiple positions, and he's right there as being one of them. So I think Zaccharie Risacher really fits what the Hawks need. Do I think he's the best player in this draft? Personally, I don't. Does that mean he won't be? No. Any of these guys could be great. Maybe Alex Sarr is a Hall of Famer when I look. But as of right now, I think even though the Hawks' main need was a big man, Alex Sarr wasn't really that guy. Donovan Clingan really fits what the Hawks needed. A big man who plays like a big man, has a presence on the interior, really can affect opposing offenses, really is a rim protector, old school type of center, a true large and in charge center. He would have fit what the Hawks needed tremendously. However, he's just not a player you want to draft with the #1 pick. And teams didn't really want to trade in this draft too much because no one really wanted that #1 pick. There was nobody who just screamed can't miss prospect in this draft. So I wouldn't have really loved Clingan at 1, even though I think he fits the need the most. I think Risacher has more potential and upside, and I think that's why ultimately the Hawks decided to go that way, because they're trying to surround Trae Young with these large wings. Dyson Daniels, Risacher, Johnson, Hunter, Bogdan, like all these guys kind of have a similar archetype, so you can see what Landry Fields and Kyle Korver are trying to do. We'll just see if Quinn Snyder can bring the best out of them, and I think you need about 2-3 years to really let you know if this was the right pick or not, and I'm excited to see what he develops into. So that's my opinion on Zaccharie Risacher versus Alexander Sarr. And again, feel free to disagree. Share your opinion. As long as you're respectful, we can have a great dialogue. All right, so until next time, be blessed.